I watch it there online. Yeah. I love that they're online and I watch it because I watch it.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, good. Good. That's a lot of people. Yeah. I can take a part between. Yeah. Kind of a summary, yeah, recommendation. You and I. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Very much. Okay. Remember all the high school things. Yeah. Oh, Guess it was.
Oh,
That was quite good. Yeah, my late husband was there that he never. Yeah, he was driving by. And he was driving by and actually he would get rid of the go home. Go back and tell him smoke. And he could get fired. Because he was on his way to the landfill then, you know. And he was on the way to the dump and he, as there was smoke was pouring out and he didn't want to go back. And he said it didn't like for that. All of it just. So. Hello.
So I'm not gonna be able to live stream this. I can't remember what the password is to get into it.
So that's you again.
No, it's the new computer and it was stored on my other one. Kathy's gonna email me, text me when she gets home. It doesn't matter, I'll record it, I can upload it later.
They can still join.
They can still do it.
I don't know, I've heard. Yeah, my back is. Anything else? No. I'm not.
Right, for you. Let's take a group.
Right.
Yeah.
Should I make a face?
Yeah.
Sorry, it's my inner 2-year-old.
That's okay. You're figuring it the library, right?
Oh, of course I do. Yeah, I got.
I'm not lights while we don't have it.
I guess I decided how to do it.
Oh, you that thing? Yeah, we said that, you know, then I'm gonna stay home. Well, no, just, no, no.
Right, oh, okay.
So it's probably.
Maybe.
No. No, but never mind. She's like, she's the music. So her book.
Are we able to shutter the thing until we get to the? Oh, yeah. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, there's usually a physical shutter.
Yeah.
Okay.
May have to call you back. Yeah.
We're not.
Yep.
I'm blinded. Again, that's. All right, good, how are you?
It's not
You don't
sure.
want to take a chance on the audio tonight, I think I better. Hmm.
So just give me the balance. Oh, she's out.
Yeah.
It's way over there. I tried. It's okay. I should have charged. I'll just start. I'll remember to ask you. Once again. Wait, where's Dusty?
He's picking up, Annie.
Okay.
I was just.
Yeah, I talked to him today, so I know he's coming.
He's coming.
Yeah. Do we have,
She's like, uh-oh. I think you could.
Hi. Thank you. How are you? Good. So, okay, I got your notes, but I have a contact. Then it's been this, but I'll go back and especially on the numbers.
Yes, he is.
You could be running. They have these at market. And then it's sort of, well, like, they would-
Why? They're very close. Yeah, it's not gonna be like this.
Do you want me to start on the match and start? Okay, that could be a.
It's gonna be actually.
I just texted that. I'll give her a number and then-
It will appear. As you're coming out. It's gonna be between the church. It's gonna take about 70 years. It's not gonna be.
It'll also be like that, but apparently.
That is what I want to do. That's what I was saying. Yeah.
Right.
You heard from the manager.
Like, what lines? And it's your. I know that. One in, like,
Already
by
there,
the,
he's gonna give them to him tonight.
Yeah. By
This
by a library. They do it, play it every year and it's like the debates. And.
Yeah.
Comes out with the two sides of the thing. It's a little arduous, but we get it stuff, we get it free. Yeah. So now we have free and. They're not near each other, you know, if they. They're not gonna be.
Okay.
I know, and I'm trying to get his. Not answering his phone.
I love that. But why don't we get to? I am not.
Hi, Susan.
Hi, is there any way to make this come clear? I'm just getting bubbles from you guys. That's better.
I'm getting a message that says your bandwidth is low, so I think the problem is on your.
Okay, I'll try again. Thank you.
Sundar. I wondered what that was for. Can we do both? It's not gonna be.
Helmet. I didn't know you were.
the last.
All right. All right, we ready now? All right. Calling the meeting to order at 6:09 PM. If you please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Number two, approval of the treasurer's warrants, payroll warrants for May 20th, 2022, May 27th, 2022, and June 3rd, 2022. Open for a motion.
I move to approve. I second.
Then moved and seconded. Any discussion, questions? All those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Accounts payable warrants for May 24th, 2022, May 31st, 2022, and June 7th, 2022. Open for a motion.
I move to approve. I second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Number three, approval of the minutes, May 17th, 2022. Open for motion.
I move to approve the minutes as written. Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any questions, edits, discussion? Seeing none, calling for a vote. All those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Okay. Next, we're going to do the town report dedication. And as some of you know, the town report is dedicated to someone who is very important to our town each year. And this year we are honored to dedicate it to Peter Rhymes, who was a dedicated member of the fire service, EMS, a state representative, and overall just a wonderful community member, friend, and neighbor of so many people who passed away this past September, I believe. And we are honored to present his family with the first copy of the 2021 annual report for the town of Wiscasset. If I could ask a member or members of the family to come forward, we'd love to present this to you.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. Moving down to number 5, committee appointments. I don't believe we have any. No. All right, and then moving right into public hearings for the proposed sewer rate increase. We're actually going to have a presentation, and then we will move into the public hearing where there will be public comment opportunity. So I will turn it over to you all, and if you want me to, they give it a whirl. It's on the top there, top slider, yeah. There we go. No. Can everyone hear me? Sorry. I am Rob Lowell. I am the superintendent of the sewer department.
And I am coming before the select board and citizens of Wisconsin to ask for a rate increase. With me tonight, I have Kathy Robinson from the Maine Rural Water Association, who did an analysis of our finances. And it is her conclusion that we do need to have a rate increase. This presentation tonight will address that. And I want to thank her for her hard work. With her tonight also is Kirsten Weaver, who is the director of the Maine Rural Water Association, who's giving me some moral support and technical support. Also here tonight is Bill Olber. And Bill is the one who headed up the project to analyze the sewer plant, collection system infrastructure, and the infrastructure regarding pumping stations. And he will comment at the end of things a bit about very brief. Also, Jim Crowley is here today, and he's from the Maine Department of Environmental Protection. And just wanted to recognize him because he's been a great support. I want to thank this board for this opportunity. I also want to thank you because you have been very generous. My capital requests each year, which I've only been here 2 years, you guys have been great in financing some upgrades that need to occur. And right now, fruits of that are starting to show as the new dump truck that you supplied us with has arrived. And we're really, really thrilled to have it. You've enabled us to get a utility truck, which is the inherited ambulance. And you've also financed 4 50 kilowatt generators that are going to be installed by July at our 4 most important pump stations. They will have automatic transfer switches and they will really be state of the art. So I thank you for that. Because that really is the big need. But of course, there are needs ahead. Anyway, I would like to begin with our presentation for the town of Wisconsin Sewer Department public hearing. The sewer plant was originally built in 1964. There had been upgrades in 1982 and 1992. But even with that 1992 upgrade, a lot of that equipment is 30 years old. The system consists of a sewer plant, 18 pump stations, and approximately 15 miles of sewer plant piping. When the sewer plant was built, the Beatles were appearing in black and white television on the telephone show. A gallon of gas was 30 cents. The average income per year was $6,000. So if you really think about it, that's an awfully long time for a sewer plant to be in operation. To the left, I want you to see a photo of our climbers. That screen was installed in 1964 and it still operates today. They don't quite make that technology anymore, but I just wanted you to see there are things in the sewer plant from 1964 that are still running. We threw a few comparisons up there, things like cost of a gallon of gas being 1 cent in 1982, and in 1992 it was $1.05. But you can see how time flies. The department consists right now of myself, Rob Lawley, who's the superintendent. Ray Billifler is our main lab technician, he's a mechanic and a technician. He's also a licensed truck driver. He is also possessing the sewer plant operator license. It's a B3, I believe. And we also have Tony Cole, who is a technician, and he is our pipe and manhole specialist. So for 3 employees, we currently cover the 27.7 square miles of town. And I know we only have 15 miles of piping, but we are still responsible for things. For example, dig seals. We get called for them all the time. We have a lot of people in the outskirts of town. So we're familiar with a lot of the town where we don't have sewer pipes. We noted up in here that in 2017, plan and the department entered into a consent agreement with the DEP. Part of that consent agreement requires that the sewer department should have a staff of 4 employees. And right now we just have 3. Now we have 3 because they originally did have 4 in 2019. But one of the employees transferred to another department. And then when COVID came along, we were still running our ad for an employee, but that it was scant because a lot of people did not apply, and 4 applications in 18 months. So it didn't quite work out. The sewer system currently serves 833 meters, which equates to about 2,083 users. And when school is in session, the big center has a lot of people. I mean, that can go up to like 2,600. Sewer department is run as an enterprise fund through the town of Wisconsin. That means that operation and maintenance of the sewer system are to be paid by revenues from the sewer bills and impact fees. The sewer department financials were examined by Kathy Roberts, in Rural Water. And I'm going to introduce her now. She will speak to some of the charts that you have before you. I would like to point out that on the front cover of people who've gotten the ones that just have the charts, but it's in the back of the ones you have a photograph of. It's in the back. That is simply a list of revenues from sewer bills. And at the bottom, you will see what the budgeted amounts were and what that shortfall was as approved. Kathy has also included that in this sewer department financials, but I wanted everyone to see what kind of money comes in from sewer bills. So Kathy, if I can turn this over to you, sorry. This is Kathy Robinson.
Thank you, Rob. Yeah, I just wanted to go over some of the financial aspects of the sewer system, and there have been certainly financial challenges along the way that they face. The last rate increase was in 2019, and Rural Water had done that analysis and determined that at the time the system needed a 50% increase, and the town voted in a 30% increase. So even at that point, they weren't meeting their budget expenses. Revenues have not met annual budget expenses. They've been in excess of $200,000 in, I think, 1 year. In the last 5 years, they have not met their needs. Costs are increasing, they keep rising, and the last rate increase, as I said, this wasn't enough. And as Rob said, there was a DEP survey, I guess, a couple of weeks ago, and what they are citing was that the rates of the sewer department have been kept artificially low by not collecting for things like contingency and depreciation. And contingency is something that every water and sewer system should have as part of their rates. And that is for anything that's unexpected, unplanned, that might crop up, that always comes up during. Depreciation is a fund that is to collect for the replacement of aging assets as they retire. But I'll get more into that. The department has included a contingency of 2% in its budget, but it has never been able to collect it because it has never made enough money to fund contingency. And as well as depreciation, there is no funding at all, and never has been no depreciation. And it's right now about 167,000, That's not reflected in this rate case either.
The department has not hired a fourth, I'm kind of jumping around, but they have not hired a fourth employee because of the funding deficits. And also, they have had to defer a lot of maintenance and repairs within the plant and the collection system. It just, money's not there. Are there any questions on any of that? I skip to the next page. The next page is the sewer operating statement, and this is a comparison of the revenues to expenditures and for accounting purposes. And I say that because depreciation expense is in here as a number, but it's not as an expense, but it's not funded cash. The operating revenues and sources include metered rates, flat rates, things like sewer connection fees, camper dumping fees, and impact fees. And I know Rob had mentioned that the town is going to be in looking at increasing impact fees for development costs, and they need to make sure that the sewer is recovering any costs and incurs them for development. That's the top line, that all that those enter into the top yellow line, that operating revenues. The line right under it, which I don't have in yellow, the operating expenses are what the department is actually able or had to spend. So it compares the two. You'll see, and including depreciation, you'll see that underneath the second yellow line, the operating fee, the operating income has been in the red for most of the last 5 years, as well as the net income. The last two, I'm probably going too fast, sorry. Any questions?
How do you determine the amount?
We'll come back to any questions. I want to,
Oh,
just
we
for
wanna do
mics
that.
and stuff like that.
Okay, I'm sorry, got it. Okay. So, the bottom line is the net income. You'll see that there's been net losses through 2021. And the last two columns that there's shows the 46% increase will give you about close to $16,000, which is the contingency amount that we have put into the rate. And that is without depreciation and without a fully 5% increase, which is what the state recommends. The last line shows you what it would look like if depreciation were involved and full depreciation and full with the 46% increase alone, it would still be short about $139,000. So this is kind of the condensed version of what Rob had just mentioned. This is by year. So you can see from 2019 to this pro forma that we just did. Pro forma is basically the upcoming needs of the system. That the revenues have not exceeded the budget needs, and those are the needs of the system. You can see that the shortfall every year, and in 2020 it was over 200,000. It's the number at the bottom is really, I mean, that's really a break, and it's more around. But Rob has been working really hard to make the expenses be revenues, but it's still unfortunately insufficient to properly run the whole system. Rob asked me, he put together a couple of examples of some of the budgetary challenges he's having with costs. Just from 2021 to June of this year, he's had a 46% increase in sludge disposal. Chemicals have risen dramatically, 10 to 20%. And then there's a list on the third column, other costs that have been going up quite a bit in the last year. Next page is the sewer expense accounts. And this is what the department has actually spent in the last couple of years, 2018 or to 2021, which I didn't have the audit, wasn't completed or final, but it's together. To the pro forma, which I said is what the department will need to cover its operational expenses in the next year or so. You can see, how much it's gone up from there. Sure.
In all of the figures that Kathy has been showing up here, this is an important one because you have a budget that needs to be approved by the voters. Select board says, okay, they put it on the town warrant and then it gets approved. And I believe my last year's was 740,000 or something. That was the approved budget. And in that budget would be some things like some pumps, blowers, things like that need to be replaced. And previous management to Dennis, previous to this select board, these the superintendents were encouraged to damp it down. Don't spend Band-Aid it if you can. And I try not to be like that. I've been here 2 years and really we've been able to do a bunch of stuff. But there's a whole lot more that I really could do and that needs to be done from my operating budget. And this is an example where you look at just the 2021, the expenses, 501,000. Well, the budget is 750,000. I mean, that would be an extra $150,000. It could be done, it could be used to shore up, hire another employee. I mean, there's a bunch of things that can be done. And I would love to have that money because the taxpayers of Wisconsin, well, the sewer users deserve to have a good system. And the sewer system has to support the public health and public good. So anyway, I just wanted to comment on that, just to highlight that difference. And I didn't mean to interrupt you too much, Kathy, but I wanted to comment on it. Thank you.
That's all I had on that one. We can move to, this is this page here is creating the total revenue requirement. And the last page, expenses are part of that. In order to find out the revenue required to run the system, there are a couple of different pieces. One is the operating and maintenance expenses that were on the prior page. Debt service, the loans that we have, they were a sewer project. Capital reserves for repairs and maintenance of the system. Contingency, which should be up to 5%, which isn't, and then depreciation. Those are all parts of the revenue requirement. So depreciation, normally, like in a business, depreciation is counted as more of an accounting and not a cash figure, but water and sewer systems are actually allowed to collect and fund a depreciation account to, as I said, recovery for assets that have aged out. And it's, you know, you liken it to an old house. If you're living in a house and your roof needs to be fixed, you've got to have money. You wouldn't run your house. And so, and that's why, again, it isn't in this rate case because it would actually be what I calculated to with over 80% increase. But it is something that the sewer system has to strive for and continue to reach for it. Here. So all those things told at the bottom line of the total revenue requirement in yellow, the second to last column shows that the department needs 847,609 to run the system efficiently. So what does this mean for my rate? This chart is showing what the current rates are right now at different levels of cubic feet. The minimum is 900 cubic feet and $93.60. And that will be moving toward $114 at still a minimum of 900 feet. So it shows you the difference in the rates, and the increase is, you know, $20 to $67 per quarter. And you can read on down the line where, you know, you're talking about. Yep.
When we send out the sewer bills, there's always the minimum. which is 900 cubic feet. And then thereafter, we charge, I believe it's $10.40 for every additional 100 cubic feet after the 900. So that the old rate is on the left side of that, $93.60. What you see where it says minimum charge on the right side, $114. That actually works out to like a 22 or a 23% increase in the minimum. If I had my way, I would love to see that at 46% over the old rate. But Kathy's analysis of total revenues and an increase and all that stuff says that we can meet that with this minimum charge. None of this stuff is written in stone right now, if you were a sewer user, but anyway, the 114 is a starting point for us in this particular push. As you get down to the second box, is what she had done was, okay, what would a sewer bill at 1,200 cubic feet be with the old rate and with the new rate? And then one for 1,800 square cubic feet with the old rate and the new rate. I think that most of the sewer bills would not be close to 1,800 cubic feet. I think that's a lot, but I think the first two are representative of what sewer bills would be. So anyway, I just wanted to point out, even though we're asking for a 46% increase, it's not necessarily true that everything will go up 46%. So I wanted to point that out. This is, again, it's not written in stone. So I wanted to make the public aware of it.
Okay, anything else on that page? So I think Rob mentioned some of these things, but we just jotted down some bullet points to conclude this. That the Maine revised statutes provide that the rates of water and sewer systems shall be sufficient at all times to pay the cost of maintaining, repairing, and operating the revenue-producing municipal facility. Right now, it's not sufficient. The sewer department is asking for a 46.43 increase in revenues, not necessarily the actual rate, as Rob was saying, which will cover operating expenses, debt service costs, small capital reserve fund, necessary repair and maintenance, and a 2% increase. That's what's in this rate. The sewer department will need to continue to adjust its rates to cover increases in the operation and maintenance as costs increase, provide for an appropriate amount of contingency and capital reserve, and begin to fund a depreciation account eventually for the replacement amount. And as Rob, I think you heard it said this, but the customers of the sewer department deserve to have a properly functioning and maintaining systems that preserves public health. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
What I would like to do is, if it's okay, if you have received the package, in your packets from Dennis. I didn't know if it was okay, if Bill Olber spoke about that, or do you want that not in the hearing?
Yeah, that's fine. I just want to put all the questions and comments together. So if there's anything more you want to present, and then we'll go ahead and open the public hearing.
Bill should be separate from the rates.
Okay.
If that's okay. Is that right?
That's fine.
So you can enter questions.
Okay, well, let us just open the public hearing and then we'll go ahead and take any questions, comments from the public. So open for a motion.
I move we open a public hearing over the proposed sewer rate increase.
Second. Been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Votes 5-0, opening the public hearing at 6:38 p.m. So I'd invite anybody who has a question that's directed towards Rob or Kathy to please make your way to the podium, or if you have a comment, and we'll do it the same way we do regular public comment in terms of 5 minutes. I'll give you a little warning when your 5 minutes is coming up, and you're welcome to come up again after everybody's had a turn. And those online, I'm going to take a few from those who are here in person, and then I'll look online if there are any online, and then go back to in person. So If anybody has a comment or a question, please do state your name and speak right into the microphone so everyone can hear.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jason Putnam, sewer user. I'm curious how long you think this rate increase will be sufficient until the next rate increase. We had one in 2019. We obviously, for political reasons, didn't get as much as probably needed. And then we also have the larger issue of possible replacement and the collection system. There's bigger issues besides just basic maintenance at this time. So how long is this increase good for? And my other question is, how do you figure out the amount of depreciation that they start every month? To your question that how long will this rate increase be sufficient? Tied into this, I would like to have cost of living increase examined each year. If it goes up, great, we, 5% increase or whatever, but these increases would be much less. They're just the cost of living. The reason for this larger 46% is because it wasn't taken care of when we had cost of living issues before. And we, as you may have seen on the slide, the increase requested in 2019 was, I think, 50% plus, and they accepted a 30%. And as we're asking for 46% now, with a cost of living examination each year after that, I think that would be sufficient. You're bringing us up into the ballpark that we need to be in. And at the same time, you're addressing, okay, we've had the big chunk, now let's ease it according to the economy. That's what I'd like to do, but that's what we're seeing. So in addressing that, we're hopefully not going to have another 30, 40%. It'll be just cost of living. But I don't know, Catherine can answer the question regarding how depreciation is.
Not an account, but I believe, is there a listing in statute? Yeah, there's a listing in statute of assets, and there's a percentage of assets based on the useful life of the asset. So a car, 12 years, right? And then there is embedded in the percent amount that you have to take off each year. So you can file all the assets of the system, and you figure out all the depreciation, calculate that out. Of all those, all the plans. Right, and the auditor has one.
I want you to know that we are putting together an asset management plan. Part of it will have to do with the studies that are going on, assessing what equipment is outdated, what can be, abandoned, and what is still good. And we're going to have literally a piece by piece tracking of the equipment, the date that it was instituted, how long it lasts. And that way you can look and see, okay, well, it's another year older, and that one's a little bit closer. But we're required to have that. So we're putting that together now. So just so you know.
So you're saying, yeah, 46%, realistically 5% a year, every year.
Yes.
And that's
something
not
like
including fixing larger problems.
Jacob,
yes. And
you wouldn't mind repeating the question? People can't hear it.
So I'm asking if that really means 46% today, 5% every year after that, and we're still only at maintenance levels of spending. We're not talking about the future of this whole thing at all. So that's all going to be on the ratepayers as well. In theory, we're all going to pay for a new or move or the collection. All right, thank you.
With your question about, hey, you're maybe talking about replacing a whole sewer plant, pumping stations, whatever. Bill Olver is going to address that after we're done here. And don't think that we're dumping a gazillion dollar right into the few users of the sewer department, because we're not really doing that. Where there's a lot of money out there financing these types of things. And Bill is going to speak briefly on we expect that in the near future, we're going to have a full hearing or at least a workshop on what's going on with all. We're still waiting for the DEP to respond. And, he'll address that, but please don't think, oh, you're only going to be mandating a few pieces of equipment and then there's going to be $1 gazillion worth of maintenance to be done. We are addressing that, but it's not going to be a big bomb that you think is just going to be satellite. So.
And I should mention that this is just the first of multiple meetings and hearings for this, so we don't expect making a decision tonight, and certainly not, so, yes.
Pam Logan, Fort Hill. I just want to make a couple of average numbers at the board and how it affects us, the people. I do not have a dishwasher. I do not have a washing machine. My average unit use per year is 2.5 per quarter. 2.5. So I pay the minimum of 9 units, regardless. If I use 0, if I use 1, if I use 6, I pay the minimum. Currently, my sewer is 93.60 per quart. I pay per quart. With 46%, that's 136.66, which is what I was paying total for water and sewer back in 2016. Currently, my total is 789.68 per year. In 2016, it was 557 per year. With this increase, it's going to be 961.90 per year. For somebody who doesn't have a dishwasher, doesn't have a washing machine, so basically it's my toilet and my sink, my shower. That's it. I'm one person in a very small place. I can't, and I'm the minimum. So that's the least amount anybody will pay. Almost $1,000 a year. A $500 increase in 2016. That's all I'm saying.
I would like to address what you just said. If you were looking on the screen, your rate would be $114 for sewer bill. So when I spoke and said your minimum wouldn't necessarily go up by 46%, it's actually at the minimum rate, 22% increase. So I just wanted to not worry too much. It's still an increase.
I was at the meeting back in 2019. I said, rip the Band-Aid off. Make it 50%. Let's get on top of this. They didn't. They did 30. This town was a huge issue with maintenance. And now we're worse off than we were when we had the increase. Things are not going to get better. Still, I'm paying the minimum. That's me. There's a lot of people who can afford that. And a lot of people who can't even afford to do that. I can't afford that. I'm gonna get this increase. Same.
Anyone online who would like to speak? Anyone else in person you'd like to? Yes, sir, and then Kim.
Hi, my name is David Dulat, I live on Bradford Road, Winston. My question to you, is directed to Chris, the 46% increase, does that include the depreciation and? Yeah. Yeah. That's my question.
It does not. It does not include the windows.
2%.
It's 2% contingency and no depreciation. But that's 46%.
It includes 2% for contingency. Like I said, you really should have 5, and it does not include depreciation. Is that correct?
Correct.
No depreciation because it was too prohibitive.
Yeah.
It was too cost prohibitive. It really would be crippling to suddenly have that. It is, but I think things are going to get addressed in other ways.
Kim, would you?
Kim Dolte, I am no longer a sewer user, but I was in 2019, and I attended that meeting and public hearing as well. Rates should have gone up 56% at that time, and the board at that time felt that it was too much of a burden, even though rates had not gone up for 7 years at that time. So the board voted for a 30% increase. And if you go back and look at the minutes from that meeting, the board said that they would make the 30% increase. And then in the follow-on years, each year after, there would be incremental increases to bring things up to where they needed to be. That never happened. That ball was dropped. I'm afraid that might happen here again. I am told that one select board doesn't have to follow and do what a previous select board has decided to do. But in the ensuing 3 years, some members of that 2019 board have been on the board until now even. So no one has brought it up. Even though I'm not a user, I'm still paying for what the users don't pay for. If you need, if you, in 2019, you needed a 56% increase, you only gave a 30% increase, then the taxpayers across the board had to pick up the rest. It's not as if it doesn't get spent. It's going to be spent. I would ask you, this is supposed to be on the ratepayers. I ask that you do that. And that you do it in a way that is responsible and follows through from year to year. So we're not freaking people out every 7 to 3 years with large things.
Anyone else? Yep, Pam.
I've got a question that is puzzling me. Because in the back of this paper, you show an increase to $114 per quarter. And say it's a 23% increase. So if it's a 23% increase in rates, then why are we calling it a 46% increase in rates? I think that needs to be clarified.
That was my question. It is a 46% increase in revenue.
Yes, that needs to be explained.
Yeah, well, there were some changes that were made in the billing system, so there actually are more bills than were in the previous year. So that actually increased the price. There were some flat rate bills that have now gone to metered bills. So it ended up becoming revenue wise a 46% increase. But rate wise, it's 114. Thank you.
This is another question. Just like, is this the only way that towns bill for this? Does it have to be an enterprise account? Is there another system? you know. And I mean, 'cause some of the reason I ask is some of the water that I use doesn't go to the sewer. I have animals, I have chickens, we have flowers, that sort of thing. I know the water department, separate meter and so that some of that water goes there, but that's, you know, not everybody's gonna want to do that. You're not, people aren't gonna want to pay for that, so I didn't know if that was the way everybody does it in this situation. And is it fair in a way, like this is when the school pays that amount? I mean, obviously everybody must pay for the school water. But is there different billing methods that would reduce the cost and still get the right revenue? Is there a way to do this differently and get the same end game without increasing the rates? Because I mean, this water being clean is good for the whole town, not just for the people in town. We all have our own septic systems that obviously would cause different problems. So it's more of just a general question. Can we, you know? That works.
Pretty much they are running well, but there are instances where the town will cover debt service for a water system. Within their department or division of the town versus the water. That's lovely. I don't know of any other instances of how they do that, but like to the finance or operating construction.
So they're sort of all in every town that has that process. It's unique to us. I don't think it probably is.
I'm sure it's not unique, but no, not every time.
It just seems like it's not working.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah, I mean, you only depends. There's towns that have a lot more people in it, a lot more users. There's towns that, you know, their infrastructure is a lot further ahead than, you know, it's all relative. You can't really compare apples to apples to that.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, my name is Joel Mangini, recent resident of the area, so I'm not familiar entirely. We are on our own water and septic system. Am I correct in saying that this rate will not affect us since we're not using that system?
Correct.
You're not.
If you're not on the sewer system, you're not paying this increase.
Thank you. My apologies.
But as a town as whole, that sewer increases the budgets for every department. So in fact, yes, you will be paying for that. That increase is gonna have to be factored into every department, this Parks and Rec, school, waterfront, everything. Because as I read the waterfront thing, they want to put in a laundry. That's gonna need a sewer. So yes, this will affect.
Chris Reed. I've lived here for quite a while. I've never been on the town sewer, but Dennis can say how much every year capital reserve is taken out of there to fund the shortcomings of sewer department. And it just seems to be fair to me that people that would be on the sewer said should pay for it. You know, everybody that isn't on the sewer, this is coming out of the capital reserve accounts, and that has gone down. And I think this year we had to bond some capital improvements, so I think, you know, it would be nice to have it paid for like the enterprise fund that it's supposed to be.
So everybody knows how I like to give history lessons. When the sewer department was built, it was built as a free service to everybody in the town. Any homes that were hooked up to it, it was free. The reason I got rid of my septic system on my property is I was told by the select board at that time that this would never have a fee attached to it.
Exactly, Rob. So, yeah, there would be no fees because this was a department that was covered by the town of Wisconsin, just like the ambulance and police, the public works. That this is a town service and it will be paid for by the town and the taxpayers. When you move into town now, and you want to build a property, and your property is on a road that has a sewer line connected to it, you are required to hook up to the sewer system. It is my opinion that the town of Wisconsin should be putting some, not all and not most, but some of the bill for this department to continue supporting the people who are hooked up to this and who have struggled to pay the bills that they already have. I agree that the tax increase, a rate increase is reasonable. I think it has to happen, but I also think that the town needs to step up, continue to step up, I should say, because it has been. Continue to step up and help support this department, to support the people who are stuck on it now, because I can't put my septic back in due to an ordinance. That's my opinion.
Anyone else? Terry?
I just want to be sure that I understand that as a taxpayer here and a homeowner on a fixed income with all the same concerns as everyone else, and I'm paying in the bottom rung of these charges, do I understand that my monthly bill is going to go up $6.90? Is that correct?
Your usage. In other words, it's the same thing, cubic.
She's in the minimum.
Yeah. But the minimum, so if you're paying the minimum now, which is $93.60. This increase would make it $114, which would be $20.40 more per quarter.
That's per quarter. I pay by the month, and I just wanted to understand.
Oh, so you paid the 31.
So I'm talking $6.90 a month increase. Is that right?
Yes.
Thank you. That's great. What a deal. I appreciate what you do, Bob.
So I hate coming for the town, having to say that we need a rate increase. And I feel for every single customer in this town, the price of gas, the price of food.
So do I. And that's what that was the point I wanted to make first, was that I'm living on a fixed income. Just like everybody else in my neighborhood. I would like to thank you for doing a good job of keeping this at an honest rate. This is not an exorbitant, even though it's 46% in revenue, I understand that part. And when it comes down to our monthly bills, this is going to work for me.
I hope that it can maybe be to work for everybody who's on the system. The real reason for it is because there's so much that needs to be done and that I can do in my yearly budget. And I don't want to hold back. I don't want to not hire somebody because it's going to be $60,000 or $70,000 worth of insurance and salary and all that stuff. But the public health really needs to be maintained. And we're falling into that. I don't want to fall off the cliff and suddenly have catastrophic repairs all over the place. We want to be proactive and replace pumps that are old, pipes that are broken. One of the things that Bill Over is going to mention in his brief dissertation will be that we need to do camera work in the system. And there's so much old clay pipe that has been pounded into oblivion on our back roads, even on Federal Street and out here Route 1. And we'd like to make an assessment of that because we think that is a big problem. So we want to attack that while we can. And I can do some of that with this rate increase.
Just wondering what the failures look like
some of these old systems you're talking about start failing? Are you talking about service disruptions, emergency? Yes, we're talking about, for example, pump stations that are 30 years old, have 30-year-old, I think 30-year-old pumps. Over time, pumps tend to wear out and they pump less and less and less. And what you don't want is the incoming sewage to overwhelm the pumps that are pumping out. And there's several pump stations where we really need to do that. So that would need sewer overflows onto the ground, and we do not want that. Some of the things are old systems of the sewer plant, blowers, for example, that need to be replaced. Some of them are 40 years old. In fact, the technology on those right now, we have great big mufflers that are like 6 feet high, 2 feet around, and that tries to dampen down the sound on these things. Well, all the new blowers don't make any noise at all. So, I mean, you come and you have to put on ear protection to go into the blower room because it's so loud. These blowers are so old. But those are things that I would do. In addition, the important thing is looking into the pipes. And Bill Olber's going to speak to that, as I've been saying. And that is the critical thing because we're paying to treat rainwater that's getting into the pipes. It's not even so much that the pipes would leak sewage. It's that the ground pressure during a storm forces its way into the pipes. And the next thing you know, we've got a gigantic flow coming through the sewer plant. You don't want to be paying to treat rainwater because sewer bugs don't like it, microorganisms don't like it, and you're wasting money because it goes through the system just like all the rest of the sewage. So I think that would be the key is shoring up the pipes. There's a lot of them addressed.
Any last comment?
Michael, new resident.
Sir, thank you. Yeah.
Is that better?
Yes, thank you.
All right, I'm Michael Olszewski, I'm a new resident as of October. So some of the terms I'm hearing this evening I'm unfamiliar with. And one is enterprise and how that pertains to the water sewer department. And in regard to that, does that mean that this department does not receive any federal or state funding? Thank you. An enterprise account is an account within itself. It's not supposed to be funded outside its own revenue stream. So we're funded by sewer bills, impact fees, which new businesses and the homes pay. And that's pretty much it, right? Impact fees and sewer bills. So that's the income that we're talking about, the revenues that we're talking about. The town graciously and generously allows us to make an appeal each year for some capital items. Like we mentioned, the generators that have just been paid for, and we're going to be getting soon. They paid for that out of their capital funds. That was a gift to the sewer department, in essence. They bought us a new dump truck. That was a gift, and we're very grateful because we wouldn't have been getting a dump truck. We'd still be driving the old one that you're going to be auctioning off today. But we are eligible for funding regarding ARPA, which is the American Act that Joe Biden pushed through. We're getting some funding for that for capital needs. We also will be able to get funds for any climate related things. And there's a possibility that part of the sewer plant question may be addressed by federal funds because it's a climate issue that would be causing us to move. So yes, we are eligible for other funds, but generally those are project oriented. It's not for your everyday operations. And that's what this is about today, our everyday operating funds. So hopefully that answers your question. It does, but it brings another question to mind then. Isn't it time we try to get more federal and state funds? If we're at the point where it's becoming a hardship for folks of the town to deal with the increase in the electric bill and in the oil, and now 46% increase for water and sewer. There's got to be another way to reinforce this.
Dennis.
Yeah, and there must be another way to address that. There must be, it would be great if there was. Accounts like sewer departments, water departments, we are to be funded by bills. And part of the reason why I'm here today is because previous superintendents and management damped down or were very reluctant to raise any rates. Now, if you do that, you risk being unpopular. And I realize that today I'm going to be public enemy number one, but I have to do it. It's my duty to make sure that the bills get paid. And that's what this is. So instead of past 15 years, oh, we had a 4% and a 2% and a 6% and a 3%. There was nothing. And then suddenly they asked for a 50% and they were granted 30%. So now we're 4 years down the line and, you know, so we figure they've had a 30% increase in 10 years, something like that. But that's it. So I'm asking for not only 46% to get us in line with paying the bills, funding the exact budget that I want. But I'm also asking for a cost of living increase examination in years after that. And hopefully, I would like to be the guy here for the next 5 to 7 years. And I would like it if I every year go, okay, it's the end of the year, we're talking about budgets. What was the increase in the cost of living and how does that affect the student? So anyway, when they're talking about rate increases, I would stay on top of that. I just want everybody to know it's my department and I want to stay on top of it. So hopefully that gives you a better idea. When you're saying other funds available, I don't think they let you set up a sewer department and then have to get funds for your daily operations elsewhere. They want you to be able to fund it.
I think Dennis can also shed some light.
So there are going to be, the new infrastructure bill that just came out, there's, water and sewer. We don't know what that looks like yet, but that certainly will be there. We've already met with the Borough Development Corporation about getting USDA funds to help out with this. But in order to qualify for these funds, you have to adequately support this yourself. So we can't keep our rates artificially low as it said here, and then expect the government to say, oh, well, we're going to give you the balance to make that up. It doesn't work that way. So in order for us to qualify for these funds, we have to adequately finance this ourselves.
I understand that.
And that is for infrastructure fund, for plans, things like that. It's not for operations. There's really no, that person that I know of, way, you can't even launch requirements for operational costs. So there are, I don't know how personally.
One more question, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
Oh,
please
I
use
have-
the mic.
Oh,
No, I'm asking you.
Do you have a priority list? That is what your over study is all about, and you will speak to that briefly. But yes, we will have a priority list. It will be quite extensive, and it will be in all aspects of the sewer department. So that list, though I have every year a capital wish list, and it's listed by priorities, it's 5 years. That will change drastically once the over studies have been evaluated and are compiled. So yes, I will have a priority list, and it will be extensive. Thank you.
Ed,
Ed Boulevard, Cassie. I got a question on the process. We're having a public hearing here tonight. You want to make the comments. What happens after this? The select board make a decision? I'm sorry, the next select board make a decision? Does it go to the voters? Or what all happens after this? Thank you.
I certainly do not expect this board will make a decision, here tonight. My plan is to ask the next board to come to a workshop and have a discussion about this. The ordinance does, it does not have to go over a town vote. It is the authority of the selectmen to make this decision. But I think they need to, the new board needs to have a discussion about this, and they need to take all of these comments into consideration before they make a decision. I'm certainly on board with Rob. I think the policy should be set, written and set. That says every year we'll have an increase based on the Northeast CPI. And just take that responsibility on a yearly basis right out of it. So we're just gonna happen. That will be my recommendation going forward, but that will be the next process. Thank you.
Last time it comes. So there's a 46 increase on this year. I just wanna make kind of a plea for everyone, because right now it's summer. And I don't know when this is gonna go into effect. When winter comes and the minimum that we have to pay is $600 to get our oil tanks filled. And we're gonna have an increase of an extra $20 per quarter below on this. And the budgets are gonna increase, but everybody's salaries don't go up 46% every year. So we just want to take that into consideration, that this is a really hard year. Oil prices are no way going down. And I can't live on one tank of oil. And I got the smallest house. So it's gonna cost me about $1,200 or more just to heat my house. And I know that there will be people who will not get their oil tanks filled because it's too expensive. And then we have this on top of that. It's gonna be a hard year.
I've been under the impression that you actually were going to vote on this tonight.
I know who you are, but.
But no, I understand. No, my question is then, since the new board will be making this decision about spending, whether they're going to approve the proposed rate increases, I'd like to see hands raised of the candidates running for the new board that are present at this hearing. Candidates? Any candidates? Great. Okay, thank you.
Any final comments before we close the public hearing?
Jim, I sent an email to all of the candidates, letting them know about this and how important this actually is.
Okay. Open for a motion to close the hearing.
I move to close the public hearing on the proposed sewer rate increase.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? They're closed at 7:17 PM. Thank you.
Yeah, you wanted Bill to speak, right?
Yes, is that all right? Okay.
Yeah, and well, if he can speak, and then I just wanna. If we can hold our questions to the next hearings, this is another layer on top, so I hope everybody will kind of take this all in, and we haven't even had time
Yes.
to read the whole report yet, so.
What they're referring to is, Bill Olver of Olver Associates Engineers has done studies on the sewer plant infrastructure, the collection system infrastructure, and the pumping stations infrastructure. Those studies have been forwarded to the DEP, and part of that study is the climate aspect of things. Is the sewer plant allowed to stay at the current location on Cow Island? Bill is going to give a brief overview of that, and he's going to talk some bullet points. But we didn't want to open the whole can of worms because the DEP still has the reports. So we can't move forward until we do get some decision and have a discussion with them. So anyway, I'm going to introduce Bill and he will make comments, and it's on the entire set of studies. So Bill?
Yep. Just to formal, we're gonna add it to the agenda.
I move to add a brief discussion with Bill Over about the sewer station to the agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor? All right, thank you, you're official now.
You will hear me. So I'm Bill Oliver. I'm the senior partner at all the associations. We're a 65-person environmental Bangor. And for the last 45 years, I've been working with communities all across the state of Maine on these same kind of problem facing here. So it's kind of opportune to have this discussion here tonight, just a brief introduction to what's been going on, because it's really a bigger issue than your current rates. Right now, this discussion tonight has been getting enough revenue to cover your current costs. But there's a lot of issues in your system you've got to be aware of that are going to affect this community in the future. Will require some question on federal funding. There's going to be a lot of need for outside funding in here to take care of some of your problems. So just briefly, the town, through its wastewater plant, has a federal and state legal requirement to produce an effluent. It's clean enough to go into the Shipyard River. And you're required under law to maintain the infrastructure to allow you to create that. That infrastructure is a combination of sewer pipes, pump stations, and then the wastewater treatment plant, then an outfall into the river. And the reason I'm here is because you hired our firm a couple years ago to, in response to DEP coming in with the consent agreement, because you had some major system failures years ago. Right now, your system is actually running quite well. A lot of credit to the current staff, Bob and staff, but you had some significant failure 3 years ago. So DEP issued a consent agreement, and one of the requirements of the agreement is to have a firm like ours to evaluate your infrastructure. So I've done that, and the reports are just being finished in draft one now. As Rob said, DEP has them. We've had some meetings with funding agencies already to build development, but we're waiting to hear back from DEP and we'll proceed with them. So I think the best forum here would be to have an hour or two workshop to really look at the infrastructure in detail. If we have to come together, that's what it's brief. But I think the important to understand is when everybody flushes the toilet, all any community is sight unseen. Nobody really realizes what's going on after that point. There's a huge millions of dollars of infrastructure. It's been here in Wisconsin for 60 years to treat that wastewater, so you can discharge out to the receiving water to Shipyard River. And the trouble in a lot of communities, because it's sight unseen, is it doesn't get taken care of. The can gets kicked down the road and down the road and down the road. And it's important to understand that most critical wastewater processing equipment has about a 20-year expected useful life. At the end of that, it doesn't mean it's always going to fail, but it means that you've got to do some repairs to it. And here in Wisconsin, your earliest equipment is 60 years old. It was put in 1964. It's sometimes still being used today. You've had 2 plant upgrades since 64, in 82 and 92. That means the newest upgrade was 30 years ago. So most of your equipment here is really on fumes. And when you ask a friend like ours to do a study, we're looking at today, what's going on today. But we're really looking ahead the next 20 years. The question really is, will this equipment last 21 years? If it's 60 years old already, in 20 years, it will be 80 years old. And I know I'm not going to be doing pretty well in 20 years. So there's this equipment is running night and day, every day of the year, with water and sewage and erosion, and, acidic conditions coming in, stuff wears out. And as Rob said, a lot of the technology has changed. It's a lot better, more energy efficient equipment out. So it really should be looked at every 20 years in the long run too. So basis of our study was to look at the 3 components, the sewers, the pump stations, the wastewater plant, and to see what's the current condition. Is the equipment obsolete? Squeak by another 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? so what do you need to do? So we come up with 5 major conclusions, which again, we can talk about in more detail in a different setting. First of all, with regard to the sewer, you've got 15 miles of sewers, and as Rob said. That's the oldest sewer is 60 years old, and in the scheme of sewers, usually with 100 years, or we think they're old. Your sewers have been repaired a couple of times already, so there was some issues that got put in that they're not watertight. So when you get a rain event from this acid, there's huge amounts of excess water coming in and overloading some of the pump stations and the treatment plant. So they need to be TV. You might have heard our crews out at night come over manholes during rain events. But we've isolated the system down to maybe about a third of it, for most of this water is coming. And the next thing we do is TV those sections. It looks like some of the newer 60-year-old manholes are leaking profusely around their rims and tops. And there's going to be some leaking pipes that people will identify. But there's repairs that need to be made to get that water out of the system. That's one thing. And the second thing is you've got 18 pump stations, which is a lot of pump stations for a small community. But just the way your topography goes, you get a lot of pumps to get over the hills to get down to the wastewater plant. Some of the original stations are 60 years old. Some of them have been upgraded, like in the last 10, 20, 30 years, there's different ages out there. But at least half of them are in critical condition, meaning they can fail any time. And if a pump station fails, you're going to have an overflow of sewage in people's homes or up under the ground. So, I mean, they need to be addressed. Even the ones that you've upgraded are now ready to be upgraded again. They've been working like a day. Then the wastewater plant is a huge issue. It was built in '64. It actually is a good plant. It has a lot of infrastructure which can be repaired. And we've repaired plants all over the state of Maine and even down to Massachusetts now, but mostly in Maine. And when I look at your plant, when I first came here, I thought this plant is pretty solid. We see a lot of plants with first tours. But the equipment in it needs to be upgraded, or it's not going to last 20 years. And then to top it off, it's unfortunate that climate change is happening. It's a real thing. We don't really know how bad it's going to be, but there's a lot of models out there. So DEP is giving the town a grant to evaluate what the impact of future river elevation increases might be on the plant. The trouble is that right now the elevation of the plant is 10 meters above sea level. And the 100-year flood event right now, without climate change, is 10 feet above sea level. So the plant is in a precarious situation. As it exists, it could get flooded out. And we're looking at some of the studies that are showing sea level rises of 8 feet, 5 feet, 3 feet. There's all kinds of models out there. And we try to be pragmatic about this because you should be looking to a wastewater plant every 20 years anyway. So we think going out 50 years is reasonable. And so the models for 50 years suggest that there could be a 2-foot rise in sea level in the river during a flooding. That would flood some of the major equipment and cause the sewage to overflow. So there's also the concern about storm surge. There was a category 2 hurricane, which doesn't happen often, but I believe there's been about 2 of them in the last 100 years. That could cause a wave to come the river, a temporary wave that could be as high as 17 feet. So in addition to having to upgrade your plant because of its age, there needs to be a discussion or evaluation of what you're doing. Can this plant be saved from rising elevations? I personally think it probably can. Some of the reactors, it's all again not a cost versus fixing the plant or moving the plant, but you'd have to raise the walls of some of the reactors. And as far as the flooding is concerned, and then as far as the storm surge, you probably possibly could build a wall around the plant, that would hold a wave back. So we're looking at that. That's always the cheapest option to fix the existing plant. There's been some discussion about moving the plant. You can always do that. That would certainly solve the problem, but it's going to be very high cost. And so we're looking at what would cost me for a year relocation for a farm relocation. So there would be maybe 1,000 feet from the existing plant across the title. It may not be the right best place by a neighborhood to put it there, but we're looking at that as one low cost. And then Mason Station, you can see that from the existing plant. Town owns it and it's an industrial site. You could put a plant there. But now you're talking huge order of magnitude numbers. So we're evaluating that on the report, and that's something we'll bring back to the town and talk about. So I guess, finally,
your discussion tonight, which is really not what we've been doing, this is something just to maintain what you have. But your discussion tonight, you're concerned about what's going to cost to run the plant you have. There's a huge cost coming, and as it's been mentioned tonight, if you want to get federal funding to help defray the cost of an upgrade, the first thing they're going to look at is income in town and what your sewer rates are as a percent of that income. And if your rates are really low, once they are compared to most other towns, you won't qualify for grants. And the key to this whole thing is to get grant money. So I think we do need to continue raising the rates so much per year to maintain cost of living. And I mean, everything goes up every year. But if you don't raise your sewer rates, you're not going to qualify for funding. You're going to need funding to, whatever the outcome is here, whether you fix the plant or relocate the plant, it's going to cost more money than the users here can afford. So, and we get into this every time we've ever worked in. It always starts out with concern and fright. But we've done about 50 plans, and there's a lot of money out there that can be put towards this. And the current climate, there's a lot of money being talked about for climate change and also just for infrastructure in general. So this is not an opportunity time to talk about it. But I guess the bottom line is, when you're flush, there's a lot of stuff that you don't see that's underground, and yours is in really bad condition. It's done its time, it's certainly been well for 6 decades. But if you don't do something, it's not going to last 20 years. You're going to have a catastrophic failure. You'll be forced to fix it anyway. So the thing to do is to try to get it to work with DEP, rural development, CPG, all these different agencies, this area money. Try to get a package together to provide a vision plan. That's what's in the study we're doing. They're in draft form right now. They'll be issued publicly as soon as you get it back to the DEP. Then I assume there'll be a time for better presentation. The details.
Thank you. Thank you. And I was remiss in asking for another addition to the agenda, and I had already written it down, so I forgot. The permission to add the James Weldon Johnson Memorial proposal under unfinished business.
I make that motion.
I moved that we.
Sure.
She did it. Well, I can't hear. I am.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
No, you're wrong.
All right, that's been added under unfinished business number 9. So moving on to number 7, public comment on non-agenda items. Ed.
If I may, I want to take a few minutes to make some comments. Pam, you and I shared a lot of time on the select board together. It was a great time. This is your last meeting. Not only did we share time on the meetings, but also in executive sessions. And one of the things we did is we shared time on many trips to and from Augusta when we represented Wiscasset at the Maine Municipal Association at their monthly meetings. At that time, MMA was the lobbyist for the municipalities. And we spent a lot of time and a lot of great discussions. We did not always agree. There were many cases where you convinced me to change my opinion. And I like to think there were occasions where I convinced you to change your opinion. In any case, it was obvious to me that your main purpose was to do the best that we could do for the people of Wiscasset. And I want to thank you for your service. Thank you, Pat.
Thank you. I appreciated all of those times as well. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Yes.
So Roberts, Fort Hill. I just wanted to first thank the beautification committee or whoever else is in charge of all the decorations downtown. Always looks really nice. But tourist season is coming, and I think that there's a little bit of the Ukrainian banners are getting tattered. We've got a few dead trees, got some messes around town. I don't know who takes care of that, but it would be nice for us to spruce up or get the onslaught of summer complaints. So please let me know what happens next.
Thank you. I'm on it.
Susan.
I got you, Susan, right after Ben.
Ben Rogers, guys. I just want to follow up with Ed said. Both him and Pam were talking tonight, and I had the privilege of serving with both of you. Wish you both the best of luck.
Thank you. Susan?
I'll be fairly quick. What is happening about the gravestones at the ancient cemetery? They're all higgledy-piggledy. Now that the fence is down, hopefully not for too much longer, would be the time to get in and straighten them up. It is perpetual care, I believe, and I would like to see that done. The other thing on my alleged mind is, guess what? The brick facade on the Wawanak building. And I hear that there are people inside. I don't care. I want to see people working outside. And the last thing on my mind is, when are we going to have a town treasurer? I won't even ask why we haven't now, but I would very much like in the next administration to have that put at the highest priority. I've served as treasurer for this town. This is not something that should be combined with any other duties, any other responsibilities. We need somebody who understands finance and is qualified fully to be our treasurer. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Dennis?
Susan, so Public Works is working on the gravestones in the ancient cemetery. I actually had somebody stop by yesterday and compliment them on the work that they've been doing, because it looks so much better. While we're not walking, we'll not be doing anything outside until they get all the work done inside. They can't take the wall down, because that entire front wall has to come down until they have an inside wall built to hold the building up in the meantime. We currently have a treasurer in this week.
Yes.
I'm Logan Porthill. You know about the dangling window out there, don't you? Okay. I just want to second what Leslie said regarding flags. It's time to take it down. Also, who's in charge of painting the handicap sign in front of the post office? Because I know one person who just actually left, and I've seen her struggle because there's people park and people stop and let me walk there, and it's a hazard.
Ted and I just talked about that this morning or yesterday morning. Yesterday morning. We ordered a stencil and we ordered the equipment so that we can start doing all the painting in town ourselves. Because hiring it is one, expensive, and two, you just can't get it done. So.
Maloney, I wasn't going to speak, but then I heard about painting down by the post office. The last chief of police we had, when we were doing the downtown project, suggested that when the cars are parking above the entrance to the back of the post office, there's 3 slots there. If they come in like this, he suggested that they come in on an angle to make it a lot easier for people driving up the street. I was wondering if we can't do that at the same time.
I've actually wanted that myself since I've been here. So.
Be a lot easier. A lot of times I've had trouble getting out of there to get past. Thank you.
And Philip Marcy again, did I hear you correctly? You are both the town manager and the treasurer?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Okay. Thank you.
Susan's got her hand up again.
Oh, Susan.
Oh, yeah. It's, with all due respect, Dennis, I don't think you should be town manager and treasurer.
That is the plan going forward, is that I am going to be giving that responsibility up.
Good, congratulations.
All right. I don't think we have anything under number 8, department head and committee chair. Moving on to number 9A, marijuana ordinance update. Basically to give you a little background on this, the ordinance review committee has been working on draft ordinances regarding marijuana in town. And I asked that they just send their initial drafts to us for any initial comment. It obviously has to go through a regular process with a public hearing and voting and all that. But I didn't want them to get this far down the road. There are huge concerns from the board and then it go all the way through that and we not do that. So I don't know if there are any initial comments, but I know the ordinance review committee and Jackie in particular has spent a lot of time looking over other town ordinances and trying to get to at least a starting point for us to have conversations with the public. So. Yeah.
I think the ordinance review committee did a terrific job writing this. It's very complete, it's very detailed. And I think they've covered everything you can imagine. So I really applaud them for all their work on this, and I think it's very close to being a finished product.
And obviously lots more opportunities to comment, but please do let me or anyone on the ordinance review committee if you come up with any further thoughts or questions. All right, moving down to 9B, James Weldon Johnson Memorial Proposal. Terry or Dusty, did you want to introduce?
Go, Dusty, go.
Third time's a charm. I've
That's right.
mistakenly asked for this conversation twice already.
Yep.
So what did I say last week? We were planning our events for June 17th to the 19th down there, and we've had the task force meeting all year, organizing it. Now finally to the point we've got to figure out what we're doing. So we've got a program, events that we've shared around to everybody so you can see what's going on. We've got a gift to the town with the task force would like to give. So it's kind of Representative Rachel Talbot Ross would like to look into a project to kind of beautify the area on the common, a space around where a memorial would sit. Meadow Dibble is here. Comment on any of this, but that's what we're talking about finally, and I think what we're asking for. I'm not sure exactly what we're asking for tonight. I mean, Dennis has kind of got the ball on organizing the space, and so there's this discussion about a tree that could be part of it.
Terry.
I think we need to make a motion for the town to receive a gift from task force, a bench. And then we have another part of that to also go to have our own contribution from the town to the common in the form of a tree, plant a tree. So it's two different motions, I understand, right? Okay.
Okay.
You have discussion before motion? So you want a motion, so
Yeah.
Discussion. I move that we accept the gift of the task force on Weldon Johnson Day of a bench for the town common.
I need a second before. No, motion and second is made and then a discussion before the vote.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, discussion. there's any from the board initially, then.
Right.
I'll come back. Okay, any public comment?
I believe that any placement of any on the public common should be voted on by the, it is the public property taxpayers, that the people should have a vote if there's going to be some place there, especially as such. Personally, I'm not in favor of it. I don't think that honoring somebody just because they died here. I think that there are many Wiscasset residents that come before this person that we should honor. That's my feeling. I also think that the town should have a say in anything like that.
Susan?
I would like to suggest that we, before you approve this gift, you see what it looks like. And I understand it's going to be made out of wood. I'm not faulting the committee's task force taste, but it is important that we know what we're buying into. And on another side of this, I hope that there will be no more garden on the common. The common traditionally is a green space and does not need the addition of flowers or more pathways or more maintenance by the town. We've already got one garden and that takes up everybody's time. Thank you.
Dustin Roberts, I wanted to thank Dusty for building his bench. I imagine it's going to be very pretty. I think you did build it right, Dusty. But I'm concerned about the idea of planting a tree on the common, especially a white oak tree. That tree can get to be 80 feet tall and 80 feet wide. It's just too big a tree for that little space. So, and it's a lot of money. $1,000 is a lot of money to plant a tree on the commons. Maybe we can take a plaque and put it on one of the beautiful maple trees that are already there and save the money. So that's just my 2 cents.
Linda? I can't.
I have a bit of a history with this particular issue. It goes back to last May when I was on a Zoom call and I expressed my concern about allowing just any plant we put up in the town. There are no ordinances about it, and I felt, and I think Pam agreed with me, that we should have ordinances where people make applications to put plaques up. And I think some of you heard this, and I mean no disrespect to anybody who I mentioned a name, but it was last May. Lucia Droby had run with this. I guess some people from Florida had come to the town and asked the town to participate in this
Linda, can you step a little bit closer?
honoring Mr. Johnson. I've since researched Mr. Johnson. He sounds like a wonderful man. He's made a lot of contributions to the country and so forth. But he never lived here. Unfortunately, he died here. So it seemed to me that I kind of let it go after I read about him. And I said, a nice plaque commemorating his death here, but not on the common. He was killed at the railroad tracks. And it was indicated that this would be in downtown Wiscasset. Common is not in downtown Wiscasset. Downtown is where all the stores are and everything, where the most people are going to see the plaque. So now this is morphed into I'm glad that I put the agendas and things from the town because I opened my email this morning. And here was this proposal. I don't know how many people have seen this. I bet not many people know it, what's happening. I bet very few people in town know that you've asked for a 20-foot by 20-foot plot on the town common. I think we, as has previously been stated, as taxpayers, each own a little bit of that 20 foot by 20 foot plot. And I think we have a right to vote whether or not we want to have this put on our beautiful green town common. So as I said, and it sounded to me with the email that accompanied this proposal to the select board, that this has to be pretty much done tonight, because all of a sudden the 17th is just around the corner and a decision needs to be made. And this is what happens in this town so often, all of a sudden, rush, right at the end to get something done. And this is my opinion. Thank you.
Okay, I just want to point out that the commission is not committee of the town. The commission is vetted by the state, and the commission has some select board members who are on it, but it is not the town.
I understand that there is a state commission, but that wasn't in place when this first started.
You know, it has been discussed by members of the task force that has been meeting for 8 months now. People from all over the state, and also members of the task force are from Jacksonville, Florida, who were representing his birthplace. And Highway 1 runs from Jacksonville right through Wisconsin. We're connected in a way. I hate this. Can you hear me if I just speak up? No. Okay. I would like to ask Dr. Dibble to address a question if she wants to, that I can handle it perhaps. You can help if you think you need to. But the 20 by 20 lot is in a proposal. We do not have to, I didn't make the motion tonight to establish a 20 by 20 plot on the common. I think that's hallowed ground, just like the rest of it. Okay? What we're talking about is placing the bench. You know, there's no bench on that side. I thought that was an inspired idea. And it's beautiful. I've inspected it myself. It is a work of art. And a tree can be any tree. If you want the town to vote on it, fine, but we have lost 2 large trees on the common. They have not been replaced, and it would seem to me to be appropriate to put a white oak there. The red oak that is just over in front of the courthouse, there used to be a white oak right where this plot is. I don't see the objection to replacing the tree that used to be on the common. In fact, I thought it was just perfect. I'm surprised to have that objection. I'm very pleased about the work that has been done on the task force to focus on the contributions of the life of James Weldon Johnson, as opposed to his death. Yes, we are by accident that place, but we have an opportunity to be part of a huge appreciation, nationwide appreciation for James Weldon Johnson, especially as Congress considers Lift Every Voice and Sing as the national hymn. I'm impressed also with the fact that we are in Maine trying to address a lack of appreciation for Black history. in this state. This is one way, one small step in that direction. I would posit that many people will travel here when they recognize our place in that history. Such a great man, he really was a Renaissance man. I'll try to stop talking.
Jason. Okay.
So $1,000 tree, is that coming out of our tax dollars? We don't know where it's coming from.
It would have been, if it's voted on.
Were there bids put out for it? Was there any means to get a less expensive tree to spend less than $1,000? We're spending tax dollars. I think we will all agree that when we spend tax dollars, that the voters have a say in it.
So we can spend it out of the reserve.
You can
Are
spend
those
it
tax dollars? No,
contingency.
that's a reserve.
I think we have more important things to handle. With, I believe, I just, my point is, I understand, Terry, how you want this to be like a destination for this, but how many people on this board have actually read the works of him? That's a skid. How many people in this town have read the works? How many people in this town know who he is? The voters should have a say.
Okay, so Jason.
Yeah, I was invited last year to the James Weller Johnson conference that was at the rec center. And I didn't know who he was at that time, and I was impressed with his life and his contribution to this country. And I know that other people lived here before, and there were other famous people that have been here, but nobody's come to our town and asked to commemorate an important person's unfortunate demise here before. There aren't other groups of people asking to commemorate other people at this time. And in light of that fact, and in light that an important person did die here, and in light of the national temperature, I'll say, in race relations and actually giving the due to African Americans of importance in the history of our country, I think it would be a really classy thing to do. To put this in there. I don't think it'd be any harm to anybody. I don't think that a tree is a big deal. I don't think that 20 by 20 area is a big deal. When it is going to be pretty, we have that ugly stage there all year long. It doesn't come or go. It's always there. Whether it's it's a good thing. I like the music there, but I don't recall that the town have to vote on that being there for any celebrations. This is a good idea. I think it's good for Wisconsin. I don't think it's a big deal to commemorate this person. I mean, it is a big deal, but I don't think it's a big burden on this town. Do that. That's my opinion. I don't think it has to be difficult. Everything seems to get drawn out. We got to make this good. This is a good thing. We should keep it simple. I think. Go forward. Thank you.
So Chris and Meadow.
Chris Reed, Harry mentioned about Maine and slaves, black history, racial relations. And I know some people moved here from South of Mason Dixon line. And Maine, during the Civil War 160 years ago, had a higher portion of citizens than any other state in the Union code of fight against the Confederacy. There was 80,000 men from the state of Maine that went. And there's countless other citizens and, people that helped with that. And out of that, 9,400 men died in the Civil War, in the state of Maine. And Maine's first cavalry had the highest casualties in the whole Civil War. And Maine's first heavy artillery had the most casualties in a single battle. And I think that's something that, it's overlooked. Everybody says, oh, we're racist. I see new people moving in. signs go up, you know, it's, they don't know the history, true people, of the state of Maine. We, you know, we're anti-slavery forever. And also this morning, I got the email that it's typical way things are done, speaking in under, and I read about $1,000 for the tree for a white oak, which I don't understand white oak, or, you know, that's kind of, and I looked out my window and I've got at least half a dozen, and I would gladly donate one to this and save the taxpayers Wiscasset $1,000. Must be somebody in the garden club, something that could, because I can't dig the tree anymore, you know, taking it from plenty in the hole. So that's just my comments. It's overall, I think it's a good thing, but this $1,000 for a tree is just another thing that we've got to watch out for. It's 1,000 here and 1,000 in, and people can't take it anymore.
May I have a response there, Madam Chairman? No, go
Yes,
ahead.
I don't want to get into an actual argument, so
I-
and then I've already
Thank you.
called on them.
Thank you for your comments. The tree is $500. Labor is $375 to dig the hole. I just wanted to say that's what the cost were.
That's another 1,000.
All right. Meadow.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Meadow Dibble, and I am on the Permanent Commission for the Status of Racial, Indigenous, and Tribal Populations. I've been part of the James Weldon Johnson Task Force for, as Terry said, a number of months now. I just wanted to address a couple of the points. To your point, I know.
Sorry, you're gonna have to.
Who knows this, the works of this man? I'm happy to report that Leanne from Wiscasset Public Library has been working with the Maine Humanities Council, along with another task force member, James Ford, to offer a series of book groups so that people can become more familiar with the works of this really important Harlem Renaissance author, who admittedly is too little known for the incredible things that he managed to accomplish in his life as the first African-American to pass the Florida State Bar, as a diplomat to Nicaragua and Venezuela, as I said, a Harlem Renaissance author who was a poet and a novelist and wrote an autobiography, as a teacher of creative writing, and as the leader of the NAACP for over 12 years. This is an extraordinary individual, and it's true that he was not born in Wiscasset. He did summer in Maine, as so many of us have before deciding to move here. That was something that his wife did regularly. He chose Maine for probably many of the reasons that we've chosen Maine, for those who have not been born here. And Chris, to your point about history, I really appreciate your deep appreciation for history and Maine's really important role in the Civil War. Sadly, there's another side to that story, which is that there were enslaved people here in Maine, and Maine was involved in the slave trade. But there were also free people of color here in Maine from the very earliest of times. And this is a history that has for too long been obscured. And so this memorial is an opportunity for Wiscasset to serve as an epicenter for interest in James Weldon Johnson, which, as our select board members have mentioned, is a national figure who is increasingly gaining recognition. In fact, there's I'll just mention, and I should wrap this up, but one of the United States' premier historians of American history, David Blight, at Yale University is currently writing a biography of James Weldon Johnson. David Blight is the man who just won the Pulitzer Prize for his biography of Frederick Douglass. There's going to be a tremendous amount of interest in James Weldon Johnson and in what Wiscasset has chosen to do to memorialize him. So, as Terry said, you know, in that proposal, which by the way, nobody tried to sneak that in under the wire. It's really complicated to get a lot of people to agree. You know, many months of negotiations. But that area on the common is simply a suggestion for a space that could welcome the gorgeous bench that has been designed and built by Dusty on behalf of the task force, a gift of his own labor and inspiration, a tremendous gift to all of us, and a tree. To the tree, if the white oak feels like it would be too big or imposing, we also have on offer a peach tree. Thank you.
There you go. Should have said that.
Other comments, Dustin?
Just a couple. It's a hard conversation to have with your own voice echoing in your head. Because I'd like to sit down and just have some coffee and talk. And I invite anybody who doesn't understand why this memorial is important to people to come out to my house and sit down and have some coffee and talk. White oak is very resilient in the weather. It's almost waterproof. It stands up really well. That's why I chose white oak. And Purple Heart also is very resilient. I had conversations with other woodworkers about what species of wood would be best for this, and so that's what we did. I feel you on waiting and hurrying up because I built this thing in 5 days, and I'm worn out from it. Yeah, it's for the task force to use as they wish, and I think it's cool that they want to give it to our town. And as to all the other points that are made, I just want to add that when people come to visit Wiscasset and they know that James Weldon Johnson is, I want them to find that we know that James Weldon Johnson is here as well, and have taken some time to make note of it. Thank you.
Ready to vote?
You have to vote on a motion.
I know.
Something.
Can you repeat the motion again?
Can you repeat the motion?
We accept the gift of a bench in honor of James Weldon Johnson from the task force on James Weldon Johnson.
And that was seconded by Dusty. Any further discussion? Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? 4-0. Pam had to go home to get a call about a doctor's thing. I don't know.
Madam Chairman, I would like to ask the mood of the committee. There is too much controversy surrounding select. If there's too much controversy surrounding planting a tree, I would like to know if for some reason there's somebody here that doesn't want us to vote on this tonight. I'm not trying to ramrod anything.
Why I'm having a trouble with this is, as much as I think this is the right thing to do, and Meadow knows this, it was last minute in terms of, and I don't blame anybody for that. In terms of the proposal, I tried to get it in as quickly as I could, but the agenda was already out. So procedurally, it goes against what I prefer to do in terms of how to run the board. I don't like it when we have last minute things and it feels like the public has not had a full chance. I feel differently about the bench in terms of that is not
That is not a cost to the taxpayers, which is why I just voted for it. The tree. I think it would be good to have a little bit further discussion if possible, given that it would be taxpayer dollars. I know it's. And it's not, I mentioned a bid, it's not at the level where we have to go out for a bid, that's why. I actually asked that question when we got the proposal. That to me is different than accepting a gift. And I realize that the timing is not, we don't have another meeting. Until 17th. Or that.
I had forgotten that, and Jim Meadow just reminded me, we have been, the task force was gifted a peach tree for the purpose of planting somewhere. They didn't know whether it would be down at the close to the track somewhere or common or perhaps at the library. And we could accept a peach tree and plant it on our own behalf. Does that see, is that more attractive out there? Head shaking. Okay, never mind.
I believe at the meeting a year ago, May, this is just my understanding of the minutes for those meetings, is that if we were going to spend any tax dollars on this, that you were going to allow the town to vote on that.
Okay.
That was my understanding of how that went, and we looked those minutes off. But somebody else may remember it differently than I do.
I'm just sorry that it took another year to get back to this moment, right? And I'm not comfortable voting to plant any tree in honor of anything that might be controversial the week before we're gonna do it. If we're talking about next week, we could have had this conversation 6 months ago. We sat here a year ago. I voted for Lucia's plaque. We didn't do that. I don't even remember why, it doesn't matter. But, you know, we have to wait. It's too close to the date.
We waited because the commission asked if we would wait for their recommendation. That's why we didn't do the plaque.
Right,
Correct.
that's correct. We've actually done everything right all along. In waiting on the commission to have a chance to form the task force. And the result is, we have at the last minute a proposal. And I know that we could be given a tree, but it would not. I think probably the public just wants to talk about it some more. We would be given a free tree, but it would still cost to put it in the ground. And even though, Chris, it would cost a lot to extricate the trees out of the ground out there. That's a lot of, I mean, that's labor cost too.
That man right over there has a backhoe.
Kevin.
Yeah, I don't actually think it's about $1,000 or about the tree. It's a bigger discussion. It's a tree in town and you know.
Yeah.
Takes time, stuff takes time. Like, I'm sorry that the proposal came through 2 weeks before Juneteenth, but that's not enough time for this to know.
Got it. Okay, we're done.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, 10, new business. Scholarship expenditure approval for the 2022 General John and Mrs. Jeanette French Scholarship and the 2022 Lawrence B. Haggett Memorial Scholarship. Open for a motion, and if you wouldn't mind reading it from.
I move.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
I mean, To extend $500 from Lawrence B. Haggett Memorial Scholarship Fund and $1,000 from the General John and Mrs. Jeanette French Scholarship Fund to the students who meet scholarships criteria selected by Wisconsin High School.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion passes 4-0. 10B, permit for conduit location consolidated communications of Northern New England. Open for a motion.
I move to approve the application for consolidated communication of Northern New England, place conduit along to Neck Road.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion passes 4-0. Correspondence from the main art gallery. They received another grant. $2,500, I believe. Congratulations.
Really?
10D, Maine Municipal Association, Ed McDonald Safety Enhancement Grant. Open for motion.
I move to accept the Maine Municipal Association's Ed McDonald Safety Enhancement Grant.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor? 4-0 passes. Bid opening for the 1993 top ticket. Then it says 4, 5 bids.
Bid number 1 is from Ray Belfour and Tony Cooley. And they bid $3,202. Bid number 2 is from Warren Smith of Livermore Falls, and he bids $4,222.
I'm sorry, that was how much again?
$42.22. Bid number 3 is from Ryan Layton of Bowden, and he bids $8,177. Like that one. Bid number 4 is from Randall Hamilton of Brunswick, and his bid is $4,270. And the 5th and final bid is from Matt Dorsey in Wisconsin, and he bids $3,875.
Okay.
53.
Coming back.
5,375.
3,870.
Thank you.
Okay. We need a motion.
Award the bid to the highest bidder.
I move to authorize the town manager to award the sale of the top kit to the highest qualified bidder.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor? 3-0.
Guess we're gonna mark that as an abstention.
Yep, 1 abstention. Okay, 10F, donation from Atlantic Motor Car for the AEDs.
I move to accept the $1,374 donation, $1,374 donation from Atlantic Motor Car to be used toward the purchase of AEDs.
Moved and seconded, any questions? All those in favor? 4-0. Town manager reports. No, nothing to add, all right. I just want to say thank you again to Kim and Pam for their service and for the serving on board with them and we said Stephen Bill, so thank you.
Yeah.
We'll be going into an executive session and I do not expect there to be a vote afterwards. Open for motion.
To adjourn.
No, we need to
Go into executive session.
second
So
that.
sorry.
move and seconded. We're in executive session at 8:19. Yeah.
I almost got it in.
I got it down.
Okay.
Fun. I don't think any of this will change me and my opinion no longer matters. So I am out. Thank you. See you. I will see you down at Walton Street.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Take care.
Good night.
I can.
Design is wonderful. Yeah, but still.
This will be really short.
Wayne, thank you, thank you, thank you. This, I put everything away in this for you.
Okay.
The extension cord is still here.
I'm sorry.
Sure. Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. That is complete. At least my presentation went very well as far as the projector and everything. So thank you so much. Appreciate it, appreciate it. So, do you know something? I tried to do that. Who doesn't suck a lot of time. Pickle the beans.
You are definitely.
Thank you so very much for all your help and Bob helped a little bit today and all of that. Thank you very much. That's great. Have a good one.
You're all good.
I want to talk to you sometime about if you have a place that, they could have a support group for caregivers.
How's it going?
You know, there are a lot of people and there is some debilitating things. My God, if you can't go to the church.
Or like a meeting or some sort? or what do you-
Yeah, it would probably, I don't know, not once a week, I don't think that would be determined. But
Yeah.
just,
Yeah, if I knew the time and date, or the range of hours that somebody.
you know,
would
it
need.
might be, I don't think it's once a week, they maybe every other week or once a month or something.
Yep, no, definitely,
Okay,
reach out.
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
As you know, we, a lot of, whatever they wanted,
We said that the capital reserve.
And I'm gonna quote, because the fucking generator is the doctor, and we don't talk about, I mean, the generator is the same as the guy who want to go out and put them on in the middle of the hurricane.
Oh, I didn't remember the one time that we had it there, all that shit into that store across the street, from one. Oh, yes, oh, boy.
All the companies running for Selectboard, or the applications that I talk about. So I'm sorry.
And there's arguments from, as you look at candidates that do all that, and there was on the.
Yes.
Sarah, both $300.
That's why I only talk about taxes. That's all money.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. Normally. I didn't, now
I know you depend every month.
I do, because you never have. And if you know, we're talking to you on our.
No.
No more meters like that.
I have to do that.
So it isn't.
No, it isn't, no.
Yeah.
Very well. Sometimes my grandfather, Larry.
I would love to tonight, but I haven't had a thing to eat since lunchtime. Oh, okay, great.
Tomorrow,
Because
next day.
I would actually love to see it.